My name is Sunli Te. I'm from Washington State University. I'm privileged for this opportunity to interview you, Professor John Clark.
Okay, I'm glad to be here.
Can you perhaps give us an introduction of what position do you hold and what is your horticultural specialization?
Well, I hold the position of distinguished professor at the University of Arkansas, and I work in fruit breeding and genetics. And I've had a grand career there, finishing up 42 years working at the University of Arkansas, and couldn't ask for more as far as an opportunity to work. And of course, ASHS has been a key part of that. To be a part of ASHS has been a real joy.
Can you tell me more what is horticulture to you growing up?
Well, horticulture to me is something unique. I grew up on a dairy and row crop farm in Mississippi. So one of my incentives was to do something besides milk cows when I grew up. And so that was a great inspiration to go to college. Horticulture intrigued me because it was different. You know, I work in plant breeding, and I'm always thinking about new products. Why is new important? People like new. There's something in ourselves that we are interested in, something unique and new. Horticulture was fairly unique and new, coming from row crops or traditional agriculture. So high-value crops intrigued me. So when I went to Mississippi State, I chose horticulture because it was unique and interesting. And then the road unfolded from there in ways that I can't believe.
Wow. So what is, in your 42 years of career so far, what has been the most rewarding part of your journey?
Probably the most rewarding part has been the last 20 years to be able to be involved with a variety development of crops that growers use and consumers enjoy. For instance, just the other day, I was speaking to a blackberry grower. He's a local market grower that sells at our Fayetteville, Arkansas Farmers Market, which is kind of a festival every Saturday morning on our town city square. He said, in the past, peaches and strawberries were the only crops where people lined up and stood in line to get. He says this new Ponca blackberry from the University of Arkansas, which I released a couple of years ago, it has them lined up for blackberries, and he never thought he would see that. So to see people, consumers, not just farmers, consumers lined up for a product which they otherwise probably never would have bought is really exciting. That's just one example. So making an impact, but I want to keep in mind it's not just helping farmers, it's helping consumers enjoy something. So that's really broad-based. So just having a part of that is the joy. There's a lot to be enjoyed in horticulture.
How long does it take for you to breed a new variety of blackberry?
Usually 10 to 12 years. So it's a long process. It's slow. It's the perfect government job. It goes on forever.
So of course, in any career, there's the rewarding aspect and there's also the setbacks. What have been some of the biggest setbacks in your career?
Well, I think some of the biggest setbacks probably have been more due to environment. Working in Arkansas, even though it's in the South, we do have lots of issues with weather. We have cold winters, hot summers, and rain. So it's, some would say, a difficult climate. Many years ago, I had a visitor named Dave Brazelton, who is president of Fall Creek Nursery, the world's largest blueberry nursery. And he said when he visited, he said, John, just think if you can grow something here in Arkansas, what it would do somewhere good. And so I smiled at that. So the challenges of environment as it interacts with the genetics of the plants I worked at would be probably the biggest annual challenge, with periodic setbacks that damage the crop. And when you can't see the crop as a breeder, you really can't tell if you're making progress. Wow. So that's one example. Of course, in academia, you have challenges with funding and rules and regulations, but you just roll with that. You just roll with things. You learn from them. Every setback environmentally is an opportunity to learn, and that's the key to keep in mind once you get past that problem.
What does University of Arkansas mean to you in your career?
Well, it means a really great place to work, and they paid me for 42 years every payday, so I'm very thankful. Growing up on a farm, you learn that you only get paid on a farm when you have something to sell, either the milk check or when a load of cows goes to the sale barn, or you sell the beans or corn or cotton. So having that is important, making a living. But that sustained support all those years. I inherited a breeding program started by a longtime ASHS member and fellow and former president, Dr. Jim Moore. I followed him in this career. So it was an inheritance of a program that I got to nurture for this career. So that was all provided by the University of Arkansas for him and for me. And so that's what it means to be sustained support.
And how long have you been a member of ASHS, and how has ASHS influenced your career?
Well, I've been a member since 1980. So I've joined as a graduate student, attended my first ASHS meeting. It was a Southern Region meeting in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I gave my first presentation. I was very nervous. But I really committed at that time, by example, again by Dr. Moore and others, that's a professional home. So I said, that's where I'm going to be a member and I'm going to take part. And so I'm happy to be here all these years later. The paramount or the greatest joy I had was having the honor of serving as president. So in that role, I got to see the entire society and you get to make a few impacts potentially in a role like that you can't just simply as a member. So it was a great honor to do that and serve on the board of directors. But all these years, all these friends, all these sessions, collaborations, fun, couldn't ask for more. ASHS provided that.
John, with your legendary career, what advice can you offer to young professionals and scientists aspiring to be legendary?
A few things are important. One that I put first is finish and do what you say you're going to do. People always remember that. However, if you don't, people remember that also. So finishing and do what you say you're going to do. Be creative, but be creative within the realm of what you can achieve. Broad ideas that are hard to get informed can create difficulties and frustration. Be open and I believe overcome your fears, because fears limit us a lot. But being open to new opportunities, collaborations and ideas, that's where the new horizons are. So I guess moderation and balance, just like your parents told you, but be open to explorations of new things.
What excites you most about the future of horticulture industry and just the professions as a whole?
Well, I think horticulture is important because it touches lives. It's right there with us. It's right there with the consumer. They smile at horticulture and we can hand it to them. We have a great advantage over a lot of our agricultural commodities because our products are right there in front of your eyes. They're right there on your palate. Not quite the same as some of our others. So having that impact on individuals and enhancing life, that's where horticulture's greatest value is.
I have a breeder's question, just as a breeder myself. What is the one release that you're most proud of?
Well, probably Ponca Blackberry, because it's the one they're lined up around the corner on the Fayetteville Square to get. But also, White County Peach is one of our finest products. It's not grown very much, but it's a great peach. But one other area that's really exciting to me actually is not something I've bred personally, but was contributing to cotton candy grape. Cotton candy grape is an innovation being grown around the world, and Dr. Moore and I developed the parent that gave cotton candy its flavor. So that's an interesting thing to be able to move the genetics into the mainstream in a private-public cooperation. So that's fun to see too. And obviously it's gratifying to see an activity like that provide income and royalties to help fund the next development.